I'd like to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and 84% of everybody who watches these videos is not subscribed. So if you do enjoy today's video or any of the ones you might have seen here in the past, please consider subscribing, and thank you so much for watching. I know some of you guys don't have Twitter, and you might be missing out on just a little bit of Melty Blood type Lumina news that's coming straight from the developers' personal accounts. So it's not really being published to any other forms of social media like YouTube or anything else you might have. And most of it's coming from either Kamune right there that you see on the screen, or Raito, the composer for the previous Melty Blood and the remake right now, as well as like the Melty Blood type Lumina official Twitter has some really cool stuff that they're doing that I want to showcase. Before we get started, if you do have Twitter, consider following me here. I know that brands and organizations look at more than just YouTube metrics when they're trying to help people out, and there are some videos that I plan to do in the future that I will need help with, so if you could help me out with a follow, I'd really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's get into it. First thing that I had here was Kamune. This is a developer at French Bread. Just quote retweeting one of the Gameplay 2 videos. So if you haven't watched it already, this video is supposed to focus on more of Shiki, more than just the game itself, because the previous one was sort of showing off, I think game mechanics was the aim of that one, and a little bit of CL and Tono, but this one specifically is showing off the character. So if you haven't seen that, I would check it out. There is a round in there though where Shiki just gets completely destroyed, like CL is just destroying him, and it's very confusing because I thought it was a Shiki video, but he just gets destroyed for one round, and then it starts to focus on him a little more. These are just some like desktop wallpaper renders, but I usually use these assets for thumbnails. So I'll go in and like cut out the character, and then I'll use them in a different background or something, or blow it up a little bit bigger for thumbnails. So that's mostly for me right there. This is pretty cool. This is on Famitsu. This is like a Japanese magazine or something, I think. But this is how Noelle was presented to them. So it was like a whole like magazine article, and they showed a bunch of screenshots from the game. This was before her trailer came out. So I think it was before her trailer came out, but it showed like screenshots from the game, and it shows the UI. It shows her in the VN, her voice actor. There's a better translated version of this. I think Majin Obama made a video about it, so you might have to go check it out over there to find it, because this is just Google like Translate, and I'm sure that a lot of this stuff is not correct. But you can see this is from the trailer. It's got her little metered projectile here. I didn't really notice when I watched it the first time, but all in all, cool character and a cool way to present all of this stuff. And I think there's a section here where they talk about like how you can use her different attacks, like her long range normals with the pole and everything. Very cool article, and tells you a lot about the character if you're interested in her. Oh, next up, this is the YouTube viewer count for all of the trailers, right? So whenever the maid started getting announced, at first it started off very hot, right? So Shiki has like 400,000 views, Arcway closing in on 400,000, same thing with CL, Akiha, Koma, and then the maid started dropping, and I think it's because people expected the maids, but they didn't expect them to show up 3 different times. So I think they just got less and less interested over time until like Miyako came out, and then they were like, oh, this is a new character again, or like a character that's not as familiar, I guess. I like to, whenever these come out, whenever the trailers come out, I like to compare the numbers to the Strive character trailers as well as the KOF ones. If you guys are keeping up with that game, KOF 15, the viewership numbers on those trailers are ridiculous. The Shermie video has like 1 million views or something. It's crazy how many views those character trailers get. I guess it's just because they're very iconic and recognizable characters that I just don't know, right? Because I've never played KOF, and I wasn't really around to play KOF. And a lot of those characters are older than me. Like some of those characters that are returning, people are like, yeah, I haven't seen this character in 20 years. It's like, bro, I'm 20 years old. Like this character is the same age as me. And that's pretty crazy. Like that's pretty insane. So it'll be my first time ever seeing a lot of those characters when that game comes out. This is from the Melty Blood type Lumina, like official Twitter. And they've been doing this thing where they have like the character, then they have a little bit about their lore right here. So if you don't play the VN, or you haven't read the manga or anything like that, like me, you can just come here and read about your character, right? So this is pretty cool. They do this for every character, and you don't need to have a Twitter account to like check out this Twitter. You can just go here and scroll through it and read what you want. This is the different like round starts. So if you notice in the trailer, the first round, the second round, and then the final round all have like different sayings, and then if you get to the final round, it like turns gold. So just a cool little detail there. And I think that this also, I didn't talk about this when I looked at the gameplay trailer, but see how they're moving around in the pre-jump stuff, like the pre-fight phase, you can move around. Apparently that hasn't really been a thing in newer games since, I guess, Marvel 2, a lot of people are comparing it to. So that's been like a big deal. It's been pretty funny to see people's reactions to that. Here's Noelle. This is just me liking stuff about Noelle. And then there's the Type Lumina thing. This is Akia's version. So we saw the CL one just now, and this is the Akia version. Okay, this one was pretty important. I want to read this one all the way through. This is the moon gauge, so you can use like different moon skills and stuff on the character. But what I wanted to take a look at was the fact that the moon gauge has 11 levels. So whenever a move lands, both characters build 1 level. And then EX moves used in combos build 1 level for the attacker. Moon skills take 3 levels, therefore landing a moon skill has a net loss of 2, -3 + 1 levels. So it gets very, the math gets very convoluted, but the picture I thought was pretty interesting at how it drains and how there's like different phases of it. I didn't realize it was that in depth when I was watching the gameplay stuff. And then this was one of the biggest ones. So if you remember previously on those like gameplay trailers and the character teasers, at the end of it, it always says available for pre-order on like Xbox or PlayStation or Switch, but it never says PC. And a lot of the community on Twitter were saying like, can you put up the page so you can pre-order the game? And then that actually boosted it on the Steam thing, right? So when Strive came out and people were pre-ordering it towards like right when it was releasing, you could see like top sellers on the front of Steam, even though the game wasn't really out yet. So people wanted that for this game. But unfortunately, there was no Steam page until this tweet came out from Raito that said the Steam page for Melty Blood Type Lumina will be available soon. Unfortunately, there is no pre-order, but you can still find more information about the Steam version there. So basically, the reason that I understand there's not a pre-order is because there's a system for developers on Steam, and like established developers can have pre-orders, but like I guess publishers who don't have a track record don't get that feature. And apparently, like the previous Melty Blood that's on Steam was published by ArcSys, so they were able to like have all the features. But since this one's published by I think whatever company Ono is at, the one that makes FGO, because they're doing like all the retail stuff, I forgot what the company's called, but they're the ones doing it, and this is like one of their first Steam releases, so they don't have that feature for pre-order. But you can add it to your wish list, which apparently shows interest, and then I guess it does something for them on the Steam store. So if you do see it, add it to your wish list on Steam when it pops up. And this was only made possible because people were having like discourse with the developer on Twitter and telling them what they want, and then they got it, right? They're not obnoxious about it. They're having actual discourse with the people who are making the game, and they're listening to us, right? So I think that's the biggest takeaway from this video is like, if you want something to be in the game, or you see like right there, Obama tweeted about regional pricing. So like countries whose economy is not as powerful to the US dollar can pay like a little less for the game, but still get the game. That's like a big deal. And I personally did not know that until Strive came out and regional pricing was a thing. Like they had to campaign, I guess you would say, for regional pricing because I don't remember. It was somewhere in South America, but like $60 US is like way more over there. Like I understand how currency works and how against the US dollar works, but I didn't understand that regional pricing is not like a default thing on Steam. You have to set, the developer has to set that themselves. But yeah, a lot of things are happening on Twitter about this game with the developers themselves from like their personal accounts, and a lot of things are being listened to and taken into account, which I think is a breath of fresh air, right? Because it feels like lately when newer games come out, like not even just fighting games, but just newer games in general, when they come out, the developer is like this big conglomerate company that you're just talking to a wall, right? Like nothing you say is going to get to them. But this is different, right? They're more like, I don't want to say like an indie studio, but they're a smaller studio, and I feel like they actually listen to what the people want. So if you're very excited about this game, you should be very happy about this, I guess, is the takeaway from that. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. I just wanted to share some news that you might be missing out on if you don't have Twitter, which I don't blame you. Sometimes this website can be more harm than good in your life. But if you enjoyed this video or any of the ones you might have seen in the past, please consider subscribing, and thank you so much for watching.